congregation open and affirming to all people. Whoever you are, whatever your gifts or abilities may be, however you identify your gender or sexual orientation, wherever your life and faith journey has taken you, you are welcome here. This is our official Canvas Sunday, when we're talking about money, yay. So Alice Mark, one of our 2019 Canvas co-chairs, has a message about pledging.
Good morning, church. Got my striped mug because I'm ready to talk to you. Anyone who wants to talk to me about your pledge. So I just want to give you an update on our Canvas. First of all, if you've pledged, put up your hand. Thank you so much. I cannot tell you how grateful I am for you to get your pledges in. That means so much to everyone who's working on this pledge. So far we have about 36 families and people who've pledged, and we've collected about $147,000 in pledges. That is probably about a third of where we need to be with both families and with the pledge. So our objective is around 140 pledging units. Around $450,000. So we're a third of the way there. So give ourselves a round of applause. But it does mean if you haven't pledged, please get your pledge in. If you want to talk to anyone about pledging, please come and talk to me. Laura Walters and Dave Demergian and Michelle will all be around the pledge table today. And we welcome you to have a conversation with us. So thank you so much for all that you do.
Thanks, Alice. So after the service, we do have a coffee hour through this door to Lion Chapel. And as Alice mentioned, we do have these striped mugs. So please hold one of these if you would like to indicate that you would like to have a conversation with others who might not know about. Also today, our welcoming committee co-leads invite you to join them on the couches in the Peterson room, which is next to Lion Chapel, in that really sunny spot. So please feel free to join them for coffee and conversation. Welcome to one and all.
Good morning.
Our call to worship is words from Mother Teresa. Love cannot remain by itself. It has no meaning. Love has to be put into action, and that action is service. Whatever form we are, able or disabled, rich or poor, it is not how much we do, but how much love we put into the doing, a lifelong sharing of love with others. Come, my friends, come into this beloved and sacred space and let us worship together. Now please rise as you are willing and able and join in singing our opening hymn, number 134, Our World is One World.
forward to light the chalice, symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith the world over. As they light the chalice, please join me in our unison affirmation printed in your order of service in English and then in Spanish. We give ourselves one unto another, covenanting to walk together as a congregation, promising faithfully to watch over one another, and to delight for love to abide in our midst. Nos enseñamos y nos comprometemos a caminar juntos en congregación, prometiendo con mucha fe cuidarnos mutuamente y deleitarnos en el amor que permanecerá entre nosotros. Each week we also light 2 candles of peace and hope. Each candle representing a different place on earth that we want to lift up and remember this morning as a sacred encounter with the Lord. Today we remember 2 places that we especially hold close in this service and throughout the week ahead. After each of the candles is lit, we will speak the words for peace in English, Arabic, and Hebrew. Peace, salam, shalom. Our first candle is lit for Christchurch, New Zealand, where 49 people were killed during morning prayers at a mosque in a racially motivated shooting. May our prayers bring peace. Peace, salam, shalom. Our second candle is lit for Saudi Arabia, where human rights defenders are being continually and arbitrarily detained, tortured, and abused. May justice prevail. Peace, salam, shalom.
I invite all of our kids to come forward for the time call pages. Good morning. All right, why don't you just kind of scrunch in a little. All right, we're talking about something very exciting today. You want to know what that is? Any guesses? Money! There you go. Yeah, bingo. It's the theme word today. All right, so I'm going to start with a question for you, and then we're going to ask a release of a question. How's that sound? Okay, so who has ever seen the offertory? In church. When we've been in church, and like there's a part where Keith plays music, and then people come from the back with wooden plates, and we put things in the plates. We put money in the plate, right? All right, that's called the offertory. And that's the moment, amongst other times, there are other ways in which, money comes to the church, but it's one of the places where people give money to the church. So here's the question. What do you think that money pays for? Stuff in the church. That's exactly right. What else do we think the money pays for? Yes, food. It does, money does help to pay for the food. Yes? The electric bill. Yes, there you go. What else? Any other guesses? Okay. That's normal, right? We often don't see all the things that we need money for at the church, right? So, and the electric bill is a great example of things that we really need, but that we don't really think about. Because if we didn't have lights, it would be hard to be in the church, right? Another thing which we feel but often don't see is heating, right? So we have to pay for all of the heating of the church too. And then there are lots of other things which we don't see at all, yes? This is actually true. The windows cost money when we put them in here, and they do sometimes cost money to make sure that they stay looking in a good situation, so you're right. Right? We paid for the land a long time ago, but you're right, we are on a physical piece of land, and that at some point in time, we had to buy the space that we're on. And we heard taxes, we all pay taxes, both the church and some kinds of taxes. The church doesn't pay all kinds of taxes, interestingly, because we're considered a nonprofit, so we don't have to pay things like sales tax sometimes. But you're right, there are other things. And then there are also the things which we don't see. Like say, the music. So the choir, right, when the choir sings, we see these books that they're holding, right? But in those books are pieces of music, like sheets of music, and we often have to pay for those. So there are lots of things in the church that we use money to buy, but we don't always see those things, and we often don't see money. So, this is my question for Rose. When was the first time you thought about money when you were growing up, when it related to the church?
Well, that's a very good question. Actually, I'm going to be talking about this more later today. But when I was growing up, the church that I went to, the beginning of the year, you were given a box full of little colored envelopes. Anybody ever go to a church like that? Oh, a lot of candy. A lot of candy. Okay, we don't have that there. But every week, my dad would take out one of those envelopes, the envelope for that week, and he would put a dime in it. And back then, a dime was a lot of money. And we watched that dime go in there, and we sealed it up. And then we had children's chapel. We put our envelopes into the offering room. Were pennies allowed? Maybe somebody, it was an envelope. So maybe somebody put pennies in their envelope. I don't know. Mine had a dime in it every week.
So there are lots of ways to think about money, right, and how we spend money. So this box, this is a very simple version of a box. You can see here. So my wife, I can remember when my wife and I were getting married. My wife is Jewish. You all have heard me say that before, right? And so we do Jewish things in our house because those are important things for her. And when we were getting married, we were actually talking about money and giving a part of the money that people gave us when we got married away to charity. And so she explained that to me, like why that would be important. And it has something to do with this funny little box you see. So in Judaism, there is this concept, and I often missay Hebrew words, not because I can't read them, but because I have this strange southern accent. But this box is called a tzedakah box, which is this right here. You see these letters here? 4 letters on the bottom? That is actually the Hebrew word right there. And in English, this word means something like, we often translate it as charity, but it actually means other things too, like righteousness or justice. Hebrew is a really cool language where a word changes meaning depending on what's near it in terms of a sentence. So the same word can mean lots of different things in the Hebrew language. But so the idea of charity in Judaism is that it's our spiritual responsibility to help to repair the world. And so that we do charity, we give money to folks as part of charity, like organizations or people, or to nonprofits themselves, as a way of fulfilling our responsibility, our moral and spiritual responsibility to help repair the world. So the idea is like the world is in need of some repair. That there are things in the world that might be a little broken, and that it's our responsibility to help fix those problems. And one of the ways in which we do that is how we use our money. So if we think about our church, right, part of what we're doing when we give money to the church is that we are taking this opportunity to think about the ways in which the church helps to make our world less broken. Church is one way in which we help to improve the world around us. And so partly we support this church because the way that we learn together helps to change the world. Now I know that all of you don't have a lot of money, and so no one's gonna call you this month and ask you for money, okay? That might not be true for your parents. So, but it does mean that if you ever have money, and you want to think about, what do I do with this money? You might think if your money, if you join your money with some of your friends' money, that's more money. And then if a little bit of money, if everyone puts in a little bit of money, then we get a bigger pot of money, and that money goes further. That's exactly what we do here at the church. We say, everyone can give a little, and that makes a much bigger pot, and then we can do awesome and cool things with all of that money, which includes, like we said, paying for music or heat or the lights, but also helping to pay for all the things that are in your class. Those things didn't just show up. We actually got most of those things, and people paid for those things. So, and when you think about you in the world, right, it's not just about money, right? You don't have to give money to make the world a better place, but we should think about the fact that you can make a difference in the rest of the world, whether or not that's through your pennies or through your actions, okay? So now we're not going to talk about money anymore. We're going to go to class for the rest of the time, all right? The congregation is going to sing us out, and we're going to get to class.
We've been given the inspiration of our brothers and sisters in faith, our siblings in faith, who walk with us the path of the free religious life, who companion us in our joys and sorrows, and who are ours by some design of fate or necessity to care for and to love, to forgive and to cherish for this time of our lives. We lift up grateful hearts. We have been given minds with which to wonder and to reason, and we've been given voices to speak and to sing, and to shout against justice. And we have hands to work and to build the better world we would have for ourselves and our children. We are asked to use them all in the service of love and justice. We lift up grateful hearts. We've been given the divine spark as children of God, all whose health and wholeness requires us to tend to the life of the soul. In our rushing and our doing, may we not forget those whose we are and what we truly are. Not human beings having a spiritual experience, but spiritual beings having a human experience. We lift up our grateful hearts. We ponder this mystery together, glad for one another, blessed by the abundance of our lives, and called to give abundantly of ourselves to it. May it be so. Amen. Blessed be God.
we will see you through all the bumps in the road. No matter how long this journey alone, no matter how long alone, no matter how long this journey alone. Yes, we will see you through all the bumps in the road. There's nothing coming here that we can't get through. Wherever you trouble, know that we're here for you. If your feet can travel more than a mile, let our loving arms carry you for a while. No matter how long this journey alone, no matter how long alone, no matter how long this journey alone. Yes, we will see you through all the bumps in the road. Never gonna walk this journey alone.
Good morning. I'm Michelle Dudley. I'm chair of the parish board. I'm very thankful for the opportunity to share my First Parish and Brookline story with you this morning on this Canvas Sunday. My journey at First Parish has been complex. The first Sunday I walked into this sanctuary, I was a pulmonary and critical care fellow at the Brigham Young Women's Hospital. I was post-op, having worked 24 hours in the intensive care unit. I was physically and emotionally exhausted. I was taking a walk around the neighborhood to relax, and I understood from the wayside pulpit this was the UU Church. My sole experience with UU before this was a service I attended with a friend in Chicago while in medical school. That service was on Halloween and was fun, a new church experience for me at the time. So I entered this sanctuary, and coincidentally, the service was just starting. I must say, I do not remember that service. However, and I should say and, since that's what we use nowadays instead of what. And after church, I was enthusiastically embraced by our former music director, the Reverend John Evan Was, and Julie Coulter, the wife of our former minister, Reverend Stephen Johnson. Both became lifelong friends. I recall how welcome I felt. The following Sunday, I was invited to join Women's Spirit, a group of women who explore spirituality from a feminine point of view. We still meet monthly. I felt I found my spiritual home. And throughout the years I've been at First Parish, I have struggled to remain here. I found as a black woman some sign of institutional racism and was affected by many acts of microaggression. I always knew there was good intent, but those acts of ignorance hurt all the same. For example, I once volunteered to be on the finance committee, and the chair looked at me, none of you are here, none of you are very well done. The chair looked at me and said, what do you know about finance? Yet, among my many degrees is a master's in graduate degrees is a master's in business administration. I've had to prove I was qualified to be in a leadership position at church when others did not have to do so. I also used to feel that I was suddenly asked to change who I was to face in this white community instead of us changing together so we all can bring our whole self to this community and feel a part of it. I thought for a long time I would stay in this church only as long as John Ross was here. So by now, you must ask, why is she still here at First Parish Brookline? I continue to be here because I found that I've made many friends here. I continue to be here because eventually the tenor of this church changed. This congregation became willing to understand issues of race and explore white privilege. When I heard someone I no longer feel recalled, I get a hug back. I've been on many committees at First Parish in Brookline. My time on the Diversity Caucus, now the Racial Justice Action Committee for 3 years, and working with others to create beloved community here at First Parish Brookline has been very healing for me. As I contemplate the difference in this church in the past 27 years I've been a member, I'm glad I remained here instead of leaving when I felt this was too hard. When I saw I should have joined an African American church and where people understood who I was instead of being in a place where I had to overcome people's stereotype of me. This congregation's willingness to address the uncomfortable issue of race made me glad I stayed. Seeing the current work with the deep consultant on becoming a more multicultural, multiracial, and inclusive community where we all can bring our whole self, make me glad I'm part of this community. I'm glad to be part of a church that is willing to grow and respond to the needs of its members. I am more willing to serve this community with my time, talent, and treasure. So today, my ask to you is this. In order to support the many programs at First Parish, like our religious education, or wonderful music, or social justice work, and our staff, I am asking you to practice with me the art of disciplined generosity and contribute your annual pledge. The pledge is one of the ways we build that beloved community. A long-time former member, now deceased, may he rest in peace, Morton Bose used to tell me, ministers come, ministers go, the church is us. Please contribute as generously as you can. Every gift, no matter the amount, is appreciated. I will end with this tale. 2 rules. When a Native American grandmother was talking to her granddaughter about how she felt about the tragedy, she said, I feel as if I have 2 wolves fighting in my heart. One wolf is the vengeful, angry, violent one. The other wolf is the loving, compassionate one. The granddaughter asked her, which wolf will win the fight in your heart? The grandmother answered, the one I feed. This church is allowing me to feed the loving, compassionate wolf.
Thank you, Michelle. The offering will now be gratefully received. If you're visiting First Parish for the first time today, please feel free to let the basket pass you by. We are so glad to have you with us.
Let us serve.
given and for all that we have received, we say thank you.
This is a poem of unknown origin, and it's meant to be humorous. If you can start the day without caffeine or pet pills, if you can always be cheerful, ignoring aches and pains, if you can resist complaining and boring people with your troubles, if you can eat the same food every day and be grateful for it, if you can understand when your loved ones are too busy to give you any time, if you can take criticism and blame without resentment, if you can ignore a friend's limited education and never correct him or her or them, and resist treating a rich friend better than a poor one, if you can conquer tension without medical help, relax without liquor, sleep without the aid of drugs, and today, we add, if concerns about money never trouble you, then, my friend, you are probably a dog. Please rise as you are willing and are able, and let's join our voices in our next hymn. Number 131, Love Will Guide Us.
Well, it's no secret that we're talking about money right here this week. Not just about any money, we're talking about your money, our money, what it can do for our spiritual home, this place of worship, and by extension, for all of us. About what we would do for love. And I will get to that in a minute, but here's a poem I came across by Dana Gioia, former head of the National Endowment for the Arts, who has an unusual business school background for a poet. Gioia says he was inspired by poet Wallace Stevens, saying that money is a kind of poetry. His poem is titled, fittingly, Money. Money. A long green, cash, stash, rhino, jack, or just plain dough. Chalk it up, fork it over, shell it out, watch it burn holes through pockets. To be made of it, to have it to burn. greenbacks, double eagles, megabucks, and Ginny Mays. It greases the palm, feathers the nest, holds heads above water, makes whole families meet. Money breeds money, gathering interest, compounding daily, always in circulation. Money. You don't know where it's been, but you put it where your mouth is and it talks. I'm glad you thought that was humorous. We didn't tell you the other one was going to be humorous. Because we don't know whether we can laugh about money, right? We're not sure. I don't know about you, but growing up in my family, money was one of those things we did not talk about very much. Not about sex or politics, God help us, money. And full disclosure, it's not that my family didn't have any, we did. Despite the fact that my parents often scolded us, money doesn't grow on trees. The fact of our private school education, house of the caves, ski vacations, new cars, that kind of life was pretty inescapable. I learned when to hide and when to flaunt what we had. Some of you might be familiar with that drill. Especially as a teenager and later in college, I wanted nothing more than to just fit in, to be liked, to be accepted, to be one of the gang. In my small Southern California women's college, that gang was a mix of kids on scholarship, working minimum wage jobs between classes, with those whose parents had scraped and saved to give them an education and an expectation that they'd pay it back by having a successful, money-making career. And then there were some, like me, who were getting a free ride from mom and dad. It was all very different from how I grew up, but I relished that diversity. I thrived on all the race and ethnic and cultural differences. It was just the money part that was still confusing, and in a lot of ways, for many of us, including me, it still is. It's hard to talk about money, to think about money. Do we have enough? Will we be able to retire someday? What will that retirement look like? And at the same time, how do we think about those who have so much less than we do? For whom retirement is a luxury they will never have. When you're in survival mode, the idea of retirement just doesn't enter the picture. Most of the time, and I think a lot of us, feel confused and conflicted about money. Only rarely does a money decision become crystal clear. Usually that happens in times of crisis. When things get hard, when we or our families or friends really need help and just can't do it alone, when love is in the equation, then the money questions suddenly become irrelevant. Because as the old jazz song goes, what we wouldn't do, we would do for love. 3 years ago, Zoe and I were invited on a trip to Roatan, an island off Honduras. We were there with my daughter and her partner and their 3 kids to provide childcare while the moms were part of their friend's destination wedding. Our home base was a beautiful resort at the far western tip of the island, with 2 pools and a beautiful beach and every comfort of home. Air conditioning and pure water were plentiful, food easily accessible, deliciously prepared, even delivered to our room if we wanted. A bustling tourist beach area lined with restaurants and small hotels was a short cab ride away. Along the water were water taxis, large motorized dories to take us to the more artsy West End. It was all lovely in true island paradise. If we wanted, Zoe and I might have stayed in that tourist area the entire time and barely encountered any native Honduran Roatanians, except for some resort workers or the children and women selling handmade jewelry and t-shirts on the beach. But when we got an afternoon off from our childcare duties, we decided to explore the local market. Not the large super mercado where we shopped on our way in, but the Mercado Municipal, where the locals buy and sell goods, in Cox and Hull, the main city. Once there, our cab driver volunteered to wait for us, for which I was exceedingly glad later. What we saw was nothing like the large, colorful, and bountiful local mercado we had visited in other countries, but dark, dirty holes in the wall, where vendors each sold a few basic staples, none of which we could really think of buying. After 30 minutes of circling the depressing market area, we decided we had enough and gratefully headed back to our resort. The shock of seeing those two worlds so close together has stayed with me. I kept thinking of our precious grandchildren, how they will lack for nothing in their lives. Not that they're being raised in the lap of luxury, as we say, but they're certainly in the palm of it. I also thought of how much we love them, how we will never have to worry about their quality of life, their education or housing, while other loving grandparents around the world have no way to ensure those benefits. While I was still in Roatan, I learned about the many service projects on the island that support the education and basic needs of abandoned, neglected, and abused local children. Doing some research on my return, I learned that many of those efforts, initiated by well-meaning foreigners, are rife with corruption, with much of the funding going into the pockets of local officials, as happens in many third-world countries. While I did end up making a donation to what seemed like the most reputable nonprofit, I also resolved to find out what UU churches here might be doing. The result of my research was heartening. UUs all over this country are participating in service trips, forming Honduras covenant groups, building schools, and supporting children in this, the poorest country in Central America, our poorest neighbor, in fact. Their stories were full of the good work they were accomplishing, and they were equally full of something else, of love. It's clear that love moves us to do more, to reach higher, to extend ourselves, our efforts, our energies, and yes, even our money, more than we ever might have planned. Indeed, what we wouldn't do, we would do for love. I used to teach workshops for people in nonprofits about stewardship and donor cultivation. I would remind the participants in the workshops that we are all donors, that we've all made gifts to organizations or causes that we believe in. I used an exercise that I thought we could try right now. It starts with taking a minute to think about an early childhood memory of money. Any memory at all, just take a minute to do that. And now just take a minute, turn to someone near you, and share briefly what you remembered, an early childhood memory about money. Go ahead and do that, just for a minute. had it or didn't have it or somewhere in between. My memory occurred one of my memories was in the children's time for all ages, Sunday mornings before church when I watched my dad put a dime in one of the numbered and color-coded envelopes. It was great to see how many of you remember those color-coded envelopes we got in the box. My dad kept them up on his high dresser. And he would seal it up and hand it to me to be put in that offering plate at children's worship. And it was one of the first times that I was given the responsibility to hold money, to take money and put it somewhere. And a dime did seem like a lot then, and I took that responsibility very seriously. But the point of that money was to give it away. So I like that one of my earliest childhood memories about money is about giving it away. So now take a minute and think of a time when you were asked for money, whether it was online, someone that came in the mail, someone personally asked you, you were an event, you heard about something that happened, there was a need for money, and you ended up giving more than you might expect to give. You were moved to give maybe the most that you had ever given, maybe even surprised yourself a bit. Just think about that for a minute, see what you remember. We're not going to take the time, oh, we do have time. We could have some time to share about that. But I was thinking that the times that we did that, I don't know how it was for you, but the times that I did that, the times that I surprised myself by giving more, it was because I or we were moved emotionally. Something happened that really moved us. A cause or an event, an organization that we really cared about. And after the service, you might want to take some time at coffee hour to share those stories. I think that those are important stories where we gave or did more than we originally anticipated. When we've given the most, it is often because we've given out of love. I really like that poem that Emily read earlier about the dog. Our pets don't have to worry about money. We take care of that for them. And that can look pretty nice sometimes. There again, they don't have the freedom to choose what kind of food to eat, what kind of bed to sleep in, when to go to the doctor, and so on and so forth. The power of choosing how we spend our money gives us autonomy that we very much enjoy as human beings. Money buys freedom, it offers choice. And when it comes to charitable giving, we get to decide what is really important to us, what our values are. And that's true here too. Only you know how much this place means to you and your family. Only you know your own capacity. Only you can decide. We joke about money often. We also eagerly welcome it into our lives, and of course we do offer it up as well. Yet while religion is the largest category of giving in this country, I'm just going to say that again, religion is the largest category of giving in this country. UUs are far from the most philanthropic by religion. That honor increasingly goes to the Muslims. In visits to the Islamic Center in Boston, I've learned that Muslims in the U.S. come together for community, for mutual support and understanding, and for deep love and devotion to the principles of their faith. Hospitality and care for the poor are required by teachings in the Quran, and money is one way to express that devotion. Today, of course, our hearts go out to Muslims everywhere after the shooting in New Zealand last Friday. When crises strike in Muslim communities, here and overseas, the outpouring of support is swift and dramatic. At the same time, I also learned that when the Tree of Life Synagogue massacre in Pittsburgh happened last fall,
Their local Muslim community took the lead in raising money to help the families of victims. This is what we'll do for love. This past Friday, we celebrated the life of Jessica Allen with friends and family here in this place that she loved. Our community, among others, helped to sustain Jess through her final months, weeks, and days with an outpouring of love expressed in food and rides, cards and visits. Think about this. What wouldn't we do for this community that pulled together to support and sustain families like Jess and Joey's? This is what we do for love. What wouldn't we do for all of our First Parish children who last week shared their love of learning about other religions and spiritual practices? What wouldn't we do for our beloved congregation that participates in marches, in vigils, and demonstrations, stands up for immigrants' rights, sponsors community conversations on race and privilege, and a host of other life-sustaining issues? Would we do it for those we love most dearly, for those whose lives we hold more precious than our own, that we have no choice but to do it for this place that sustains us and them? Listen to these words from Marianne Williamson. We are not held back by the love we didn't receive in the past, but by the love we're not extending in the present. In this pledge season, let us not be held back by the past, but extend ourselves toward each other for the future of this community, for all that this faith tradition means to us, by giving from the fullness of our hearts. Let us do it for love. May it be so. Blessed be, and amen. Place here. Now please rise as you are willing and able and join in our closing hymn, Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing.
Please join me in our unison affirmation as Reverend Lisa extinguishes the chalice. We extinguish the flame and not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These carry with us and offer as gifts unto the world.
Now please stand down, take your hand, touch the elbow or shoulder or someone near you for our closing words and benediction. This is a Gaelic blessing in honor of St. Patrick's Day. Deep peace of the running wave to you.
Deep peace of the flowing air to you. Deep peace of the quiet earth to you. Deep peace of the shining stars to you. Deep peace of the infinite peace to you. Friends, may your lives be a blessing to all those you meet, and may you yourselves be blessed. Amen.